This is 22:25 GMT. We started 5 minutes earlier than shown as the time for this broadcast, which is shown as 22:30. This is the 9th of February, Thursday. 50 years ago, the 9th of February was a Friday. And there is an absolute lot to say about the 9th of February, Friday, the 9th of February, 1973. We shall come to what can be said about the 9th of February, 1972 in due course. This is the beginning. The 50 years ago, the 9th of February was the day after the Thursday, the 8th of February, 1973. And a man who must have been an MI5 or MI6 spy operative boarded a British Overseas Airways corporation. Let's check the name of the company. Yes, it was the British Overseas Airways Corporation. It was a corporation, and the British Overseas Airways Corporation, of BOAC, was the British state-owned airline created in 1939 by the merger of the Imperial Airways and the British Airways Limited. It continued operating overseas services throughout World War II. After the passing of the Civil Aviation Act 1946, European and South American services passed to two further state-owned airlines, that is British European Airways and the British South American Airways, BSAA, and BOSC absorbed BSAA in 1949, but British European continued to operate British domestic and European routes for the next quarter century. The Civil Aviation Act 1971 merged BOAC and BEA effective 31 March 1974, forming today's British Airways. Now, that was effective 31st March 1974. So, a year before that, that was Friday, the 9th of February 1973, and the whole of the Republic of India is under review, contextual review. On the 31st of October 1972, a group of British Indian border force crooks and thugs robbed a Bangladeshi passport holder of all the money that the passport holder had on their way to India. 500 takas. That happened on the 31st of October 1972. In India, between 31st, between the late 31st October 1972 and up to the time of the flight from Calcutta of the British Overseas Airways Corporation flight on 8th of February 1973. How long was that? November, December, January. So 3 months and 8 days. 3 months and 8 days, 100 days, let's say, approximately 100 days in India. The 100 days in India contain so much. And so the 100 days plus 50 years. So 50 years and 100 days. 50 years and 3 months and 10 days. So how long is that in the life of a country? How long is that in the life of a continent? How long is that in the life of the world? All of those things will be reviewed item by item in due course. Now, it is being boasted by the lying regime in Tower Hamlets Council, fronted by the crook Luthuraman, that Tower Hamlets Town Hall will be opened during this month. February. The new town hall will take its place at the heart of Whitechapel, a part of London that is seeing significant regeneration. What fucking regeneration, you fucking lying cunts! The new town hall will make full use of its location in the most accessible part of Tower Hamlets. It will not. So let's see what the council, the cunts are saying, the lying cunts in the crooked Tower Hamlets Council are saying. Tower Hamlets Council is bringing the former Royal London Hospital site in Whitechapel to life as its new town hall. The building was once a bustling facility where generations of East Londoners were born and cared for. But until the council took on the ambitious challenge of transforming it into a new headquarters with extensive public space, it had stood empty at risk of falling into ruin and disrepair. Opening in 2022, the new town hall, where it says opening in 2022, it fucking has not opened. The new town hall will take its place at the heart of Whitechapel, a part of London that is seeing significant regeneration. Well, it's not seeing any regeneration. We have posted a tweet in the earlier part of this evening with a picture we retrieved from the internet showing three grim-faced individuals sitting next to one another. Looking at the picture, the viewer can see from the left Ken lying still Livingston, and in the middle is Lutfur Rahman, the crook, and on the right is George Git Galloway. Now, Lutfur Rahman, the crook, would be tempted to get Ken lying still Livingston involved somewhere in the opening of the new town hall in Whitechapel. Now, we don't know the details, but if they do that, if they bring lying still Livingston, that would be a significant statement by crooked Lutfur Rahman. Come to that in a minute. There cannot be, we can't find any indication of the opening of the Whitechapel building. But let's say that they're keeping it quiet because I don't want to really alert people to that. So whoever they will bring as the kind of guests will be made known later so that they can't be asked to change them or drop them. The reason why I am saying that these three criminals, because three criminals, they were pictured. That picture that we put on the Twitter is a picture that was taken from the meeting, and I'm going to go to that meeting. Meeting held at the Water Lily on either 12 or thereabouts, 12 of the November 2014. And on the 4th of November, the Guardian Online has this. Eric Pickles takes over, quote, rotten tower hamlets, the Guardian. And the Guardian is running this on the website. This article is more than 8 years old. The headline is Eric Pickles takes over, within quotation mark, rotten tower hamlets. That is a quotation from the speech of Eric Pickles. Crackdown on London Borough's partisan approach to politics. It represents one of its biggest interventions in local government. Now, this is byline to then political editor of The Guardian, Patrick Winter. Patrick Winter is the younger brother of the devil, the real devil. Devil wears Prada. Anna Wintour is the daughter of Charles Wintour, and Patrick Wintour is the son of Charles Wintour. Patrick Wintour is a kind of a timid individual, but his corrupt interior is there. He made up a whole line about Africa. I mean, I'll never forget that. When he was only beginning at the new SS, the New Statesman, etc., Patrick Winter just left college and was a novice at the new SS. But the opening line about his African trip was staggeringly bombastic. The fucking liar. He wrote, on a recent visit to Africa, wherever he went. The fucking cunt. How many times had he been to Africa? He hadn't. On a recent visit. He should have said, when I visited Africa for the first time recently or whatever. But he didn't. He wanted to come across as being a highly influential correspondent visiting little countries like Africa. Well, I will comment on the crass, racist criminal, John Pilger, the poison. John Pilger is overrated beyond belief. And I shall be dissecting Pilger extensively later, not in this edition. So Winter was trying to compare himself with somebody of some stature on a recent visit to Africa. Fuck off. Anyway, so his piece about Pickles being brutal in his criticism of Tar Hamlets, says, for 2 years after an inquiry commissioned by that is Pickles' department, found evidence of a crony culture in which grants and properties were handed to favored groups and proper procedures were ignored. Now, of course, that is part of what went on and is still going on. But both Winter and Pickles are stupid because Pickles still doesn't understand 8 years after his so-called brutal kind of attack on Lutfur's corruption. Pickles has yet to understand just the depth of corruption, council funds and council grants-based corruption in Tower Hamlets that has been going on. I am the opponent of this corruption and this abuse. And as I said nearly 40 years ago, just short of physical contact, I came to blows with the crook, one of the crooks that was member of the GLCs. And that crook was probably chair of the grants committee of the GLC. And the crook had given completely accountably, without audit, too much money to Abdul Salik on a pretense arts program. And what Abdul Salik did is known to everyone in Tower Hamlets. He swiftly started a restaurant, opened a restaurant, calling it Salik's in the Hanbury Street. And most of the GLC grant was put into decorating and furnishing this building, which belonged to somebody else, whom Abdul Salik cheated and denied rents for too long. I told this criminal at the GLC that he should not be making GLC grants available to crooks. I said that to Salik. I said to him that one day your crime will be identified. Well, I don't know the exact words that I said, but Abdul Salik didn't like the idea that I was talking about accountability. Well, Abdul Salik, if there is a word that is needed to describe Abdul Salik and his lack of morality, in the English language there is no word. Abdul Salik is completely beyond description. And why am I talking about this? Because it's the grants money that the Guardian piece by Patrick Winter is talking about. The grants money apart, that was 2014. The actual the actual contents of the report that Patrick Winter misleadingly calls inquiry. It was an inquiry, it was an audit that Price Waterhouse Cooper were contracted by Pickles to carry out, do the audit of Tower Hamlets Council. Now the audit was incomplete. Audit was about, let's say, 30% of the actual audit was based on reality. 75% was not done. What Lutfur Rahman was doing during those years, from October 2010 until he was condemned by Pickles on the 4th of November 2014, that is 10, forget about 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, so 4 years, let's say. 4 years, Lutfur Rahman had been in place as the so called incumbent, so called elected mayor. Now, what Pickles did as a conservative and as a conservative politico who later became the Secretary of State for Communities, Pickles ignored. Pickles completely ignored the corruption that was going on in Tower Hamlets Council, by Tower Hamlets Council, by a Tower Hamlets Council. Pickles ignored it, as did Ted fucking Jury. The Ted Jury is not a journalist, but he criticizes others like Taki, who was appointed by a former councillor in Haringey, who was appointed by Lutfur Rahman as his publicity person. Ted Jury is a fraud. He only specialized in the affairs of Tower Hamlets by seriously capitalizing on the racist divide. He didn't report at all the campaign that I led against the elected mayor system. And the amount of reporting that he did about the Khoodeelaar campaign was also very, 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 very short, small, as compared with the actual volume of action that we continued to mount and the impact that we had on the council. The Khoodeelaar campaign completely collapsed the hold that Michael Crook had and the other criminals they had on the Labour Party in Tower Hamlets Council. That was what defined and paved the way for the crook Lutfur Rahman to even vie for becoming mayor. Of course, he was brainwashed by his handlers based at the East London Mosque. If Abbas Uddin Ali Salar had consulted me before he sent the dossier to the Labour Party National Executive in 2010, I would have given him a much shorter report, but in fact, a devastating one that would have completely sunk all of Lutfur Rahman's plots and his handlers' plots and ambitions. But as Sarah Bosley in The Guardian in March 1992 had shown, the entire British political establishment is wary of my politics. Why? Because my politics is not partisan. My politics has never been partisan. My politics is ethical, moral, and above all, constitutional, international constitutional standards that I observe and I create and innovate in a way that nobody else has done or can do. And every campaign that I have taken part in the major context of these issues, the campaign succeeds because I strategically devise the campaign in a way that is bound to demolish the crooks that have no morality. When I condemn Ken Lyons to Livingstone, to his face, as I said, on between 250 to 350 or so, let's say, encounters face to face over about 4 years in County Hall in London. Livingstone cannot answer. Ken Lyons to Livingstone and the racist John Pilger and their likes have never been able to answer to the point my criticism and condemnation of their racism disguised as the left wing left wing. This today's Times newspaper contains a proof that the left really is non-existent in this country, because in the current private lie, is it current private lie? I think it's current private lie. They run a political story, so-called, or maybe the last one. I'm not looking at the private eye, either the current one or the last one. But essentially, the piece that they have run about the Times editor, new editor, current editor, kind of changing the regime and changing the, what is it called, columnists, let's say. Let's say it's talking about the status being given to David Aranovich in the Times. According to the piece in the private lie, the according to the private lie, this former communist, he call him former. I know that he used to be a member of the Communist Party. Aranovich was sidelined or undermined, and his replacement was coming from the Daily Telegraph. It seems that at least 2 weeks since the private lie piece about Aranovich is still appearing on the same kind of spot, which is near the page where it says in big letters, comment. But it seems that the reason why he's surviving is less to do with his communism, but to do with the fact that he has agreed, maybe even voluntarily agreed, to have a go at Vladimir Putin, which is what today's Aranovich piece does about Ukraine. I would not be echoing others in Fleet Street who have been part of the warmongering brigade allegedly supporting Ukraine against Vladimir Putin. But the fact that today's Times contains Aranovich as attacking Vladimir Putin shows that Aronovich, being a crafty one, has censored himself and has decided that it would be better to carry on as a prominently platformed Times columnist than as not. So we shall be talking more about Aronovich as soon as I can find the copy of the Times of today. This place where I'm broadcasting doesn't have a lot of furniture, does it? And there is no filing system because of the lack of furniture and so on. So to find and retrieve newspapers is an act of miracle itself. So let's see if I can get hold of the Times of Thursday, the 9th of February 2023. Of course, today's Sun has got a plug for Fawlty Tower, or Fawlty Tower is it? And so let's see what Aronovich is saying. Aronovich, this is the piece in the Times of Thursday that I have managed to find from the floor. So this is the piece that Aronovich is kind of writing in order to keep the spot. Let's get the spot. So what has he got? He's got on page 23, Zelensky reminds us how far West has come. And it's a piece, it's a picture of the fraudster Zelensky on, as part of the column. And he's Aronovich, let's see what he's concluding by. He's almost writing like a Sun columnist. He's saying that there's one reason to celebrate the almost miraculous fact that this time and so far we have done what we needed to do. We should take heart from that. Now he's saying also that the assumption that voters would want peace was also mistaken. So when the private life piece about Aronovich describes him as one of the vaguely left-wing columnists, what were the thinking he would write? This is not only not left-wing, this is very much right-wing, even more right-wing than Boris Johnson. So the whole piece belies Aronovich being a left-winger. So what Aranovich is doing is going over the last few years and showing how things have changed. We will come to that another time, but essentially, this reference to Aranovich's piece is to show that he's self-capitulating to the Times regime and writing this kind of rubbish. It is absolutely scandalous criminality to promote the idea of war. That's the bottom line. That's what the fucking liar Aranovich is doing for his fucking cunt career at the fucking Times. He never was a communist, as I have said before, and he's never a teller of the truth. When he started his first career at the BBC, after ceasing to be National Union of Student politician, I telephoned the BBC. That was some time ago. I telephoned the BBC and wanted to speak to him, asked to speak to Aranovich. And I was put through to Aranovich. That is not possible these days, but that was possible those days. So I told him that he had sold his soul and he has come exposed doing the right-wing speed as a communist. And he said, Aranovich, to me on the telephone, that was a slur. I never slurred him, the fucker. He was the one who sold his soul. And I'm saying that he has done it again. I shall try and check if the piece in the private lie is accessible. If it is, then I can read that in and check if there is. Which one is it that I don't remember which edition of Private Lie that said that he's a vaguely left-wing columnist. Vaguely left-wing columnist. You can't find it on Private Lie. Well, let's check another way if I can locate that one. Well, so it's not coming up. There is no sign of the media. There is no sign of the page image, which sometimes I run with the Twitter. So Aranovich is not coming. Let's check. And Aranovich is, of course, a congenital Muslim hater, like the rest of them. We shall be talking about all of those issues in due course. And we shall talk about Shamima Begum and the rapist being given a platform by the Times, saying that she agreed in 15 minutes after a 15-minute meeting with him to marry him. He was a 15-year-old girl, and the cunt was a 23-year-old man. They never met before. Why is the Times giving such a brazen platform to a rapist? We should be talking about that and other issues in due course. This is going to be ended in 52-minute broadcast at